Welcome and wake up South Africa. You are listening to the Coffee Conversation. My name is Dean Haystack and I'm just a guy who gives a damn. Apiwe.
And this is Apiwe, the other side of the story. How are you doing today?
Rough and rugged in the new restrictions since the 28th. I haven't shaved my head. I see you haven't shaved your beard.
Not planning on. Anyway, today I like the fact that we don't have a subject. We don't have a topic. We don't have a... And I want us to just go through what is happening. What is happening? I mean, we've been getting questions on our platforms. We've been getting asked, what do we think? What is happening? I think there's value in just looking at some of the things that are happening now. And in the spirit of black and white, red blood, look at what is highlighted, really, especially in the differences of communities, if you will. What is highlighted? Go for it.
It's an unnerving time. There's so many different worldviews, and people aren't sure, and people are uncertain. I was listening to a thing this morning on the radio that they were saying that the levels monitored on social media demonstrate that the South African population is unhappier than they've ever been. The levels of happiness are lower than they've ever been recorded on the social media platforms. They gauge it by the responses. I think the amount of uncertainty that we are all facing at the moment is apparent and highlighted,
I want to make or maybe look at it in a more polarizing way, if you will.
We must.
You know, you are a white guy, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I'm black, and I know my experiences. I know the fears of blacks in the townships. I know what blacks fear. I mentioned it to you earlier that they fear retrenchment. They fear becoming jobless and all that. And it seems, though, that there's another awareness in the black community. What is feared the most? As the government is getting involved and imposing things, and I'm not saying what's right and what's wrong here, I'm just saying there is a reality and the responses on the social space. Is there anything, maybe would you say, is that the same worry?
In the white communities?
Yeah, worried about jobs?
I've looked at it because I see four different responses based on four different socio-economic existences in South Africa, and it seems to manifest. So in the white communities, where most of the white people exist, is within a certain social-economic. So the first social-economic response is those that have been able to continue working, some in journalism, some in teaching. Teaching was closed for a while. Certainly in nursing, doctors, they've been able to continue to work. So their greatest fear is the virus. Then you get other people who had to stop working, didn't get paid, businesses were closing, they're in a different socio-economic environment. They aren't as scared as the virus as they are of what's happening. Interestingly, they're exposed to both dangers. Now that's where most of the white people exist. Not most people in that environment exist, but most of the white people exist there. So most of the white people would either own a business or have a job. That's what the stats say. So socio-economically, that's where the whites exist. That experience, as a white person, I would say most white people fitting there are more concerned about what the damage that's happening to them in their socio-economic than the dangers that seems to be manifesting to the virus. Does that make sense?
You're saying they are not scared of the virus?
Not as scared of the virus.
Compared to
everything else that's happening. They can't visit their mothers. The mothers are dying because they're lonely. They can't go see the children who are giving birth to their daughter giving birth to a child. They weren't allowed to go to the hospitals. That's creating separation anxiety. They're seeing their savings disappear, their businesses closing down, they're losing their jobs, they can't pay their rent, they have to move house. So in that social economic environment, everybody who's there, black and white, are going, this is more damaging and dangerous than what I see the virus to manifest. So that's the other one.
You know, something comes up now, I'm thinking, and I had this question because in my street where I live, recently there was a funeral. And, I attended the funeral and I stood very far. I was almost like across the road at the funeral. But now they started doing this. They said, okay, it's body viewing time. Like it's customary now in the funeral to view the body, and people just walk around. Even the kids, they can come and walk past the dead body. But I heard a story 2 weeks before that there was a family that the mother went to the hospital because of corona, and the ventilators were full. All these rooms with ventilators were full in the Western Cape, and so she had to be flown away to, I don't know, another province. I'm trying not to get to the details of the story here, but just give an idea of how it went. And the lady passed on as she was flying to this place. But the husband was left in George. And the husband wanted to see the body. But they said no, because of COVID and all that, the COVID-19 bodies, they cannot be viewed, they cannot be seen. You cannot have a close contact with that body. And then she must be cremated and returned on a can. Do you think that there is something, I don't know. I think there's something off culturally there, that you would respect the culture as the government of others and not respect the wishes of others when they want to see their body. These are the things that came up in these COVID times.
These are the tensions that we face at the moment, and there's so much information and so many what's real to people's individual realities are so different because of these different arenas that we operate in. You've maybe highlighted another one culturally, that how that affects the response to what's happening, either being more opposed to restrictions or more opposed to less restrictions. That's the tension of the two. I mentioned the first two. The one is you've got people who are still working. A lot of journalists are working, especially on radio, the presenters. They all seem to go, the virus is the most dangerous thing because their financial security is safe. Their social economic thing is safe. So they aren't suffering. They're still paying their bills. So they go, dangerous virus. Then you get, as I mentioned, the others who they're losing businesses. How many businesses have we seen closed down in George and everywhere? How many people are out of jobs? How many people have, and they are more concerned about their lives and livelihoods going forward than they are about the threat of the virus. Then you get a third category, and this is a dangerous category, is you get the people who they don't even have to go to work. They're still getting paid. So certain nurses at a certain time, certain teachers at a certain time, government employees, people who work for companies that have said, no, take the time and everything, but they're still being paid. They're quite happy to sit at home and say, no, increase the levels of lockdown, keep it at level 5, etc., doing even more damage to the others, not understanding their worldview. And then you'll at the same time see some of them quite happily get into a bus, go to the shops, not even wear their masks, have parties, yet they're safe. So they say that they're scared of the virus, but they're manifesting that they're actually not. Some, not all. And then you get the last category, which is where most of South Africa lives. Those who didn't have jobs. They don't have a social economic standing, and they don't really see a danger in the virus. They're just doing whatever the heck they want. But that's the real worldview to them, and they've got whole different challenges which I don't understand at all. So you've highlighted another one where culturally it's being imposed that we have to move and change to a different environment. And that's leading to people manifesting research that we're the unhappiest in South Africa. I feel miserable today.
You feel miserable today? I mean, there's no way really that this could be a happy time. Even I think the world is unhappy. I think we can say many things. As other people want to run this campaign. But I think we have to be careful. We have to be careful what we get involved with. And I see there are a lot of activists coming up. There's a lot of activism that is sparked by this resistance, lawlessness. I saw a church. I saw a church yesterday, one of these videos again circulating. The police are arresting the congregants and their pastor because their pastor is saying, whoever is in that council of the churches is not representing us. We are not affiliated to them. Why are you closing the churches? And all that. So there seems to be this disconnect to what the government says is dangerous and to what people think it's dangerous.
Yeah, and I think it's what we touched on earlier is that there's 4 different spaces at least I've identified 4 specific spaces to the responses, that is real to those. That is their reality. Those that have got their jobs and they're working, they have a reality that is different to those that are losing their jobs.
Do you think they're accepting because they are not affected financially?
Absolutely. Totally. That's much easier for them to accept because there's no threat to them. Remember, discomfort is a change agent. The only time we will change is when the alternative of remaining as we are is more uncomfortable than the change that we have to go to. So when I can go to work, when I can still pay my bills, when I can still service my debt, when I can still pay the school fees, when I can still put my savings away and stuff like that, I'm not that uncomfortable to go, I'll wear the mask. We can stay at home. Let's not have a holiday season. There's less discomfort to go, let's rather be more scared of the virus. Then you get the other people who are being decimated, who are losing everything, who had to let go of all of their staff, their whole lives falling apart. They go, wow, that's uncomfortable. How dangerous is this virus? And now what happens is we get forced towards either taking this extreme, it's a hoax, the virus is a hoax, conspiracy theory, to these guys going, they're just conspiracy theorists. Because of the different realities that we exist in being our reality, are we missing actually the reality of the situation? To assess that, it's a tough one.
I want to jump and change. Really. Yeah, you know, social media is playing a big role in our worldview, mindsets, what we think about. And I saw now this video on this panel. They, again, on these anti-vaccination movements, somebody says this vaccine is there to cause, especially the Africans, because they are deplorable. It's there to reduce their population rate. It's not necessarily there to kill them. Some people are admitting that. Now, it's not going to kill you, but it's going to come and cause difficulty for you reproducing. It's so that you can be reduced in numbers. People who think like that, who thinks that this is out to get the blacks or the poor or the undesirables, this vaccine now that is being rolled out. And some even say the first batch now that just came into the country is going to be authentic. It's going to, because it's to the health workers and all that. But once it's accepted, the rest that's coming to the population is going to come and kill. The blacks especially. I mean, this is the fear now around black people. Black people feel like we are under attack.
Yeah.
And we fear that we are not as aware and as educated enough to be able to resist this and say no.
I think to all the black people out there, none of us are educated enough in this. I think because there's a polarization, because there's either one worldview or the other that is being imposed, even through by ourselves even, because we, as I said, different realities, and it's real. Those are our realities. Are we able to see the clutter to find the reality? So there's a lot of talk against conspiracy theories, and many of the conspiracy theories are wild. I mean, there was the one about the vaccine that's not allowed to be sold in Europe and America and Canada, so it's only coming to Africa. No, look a little bit deeper. You're probably going to find that that's purely because those have been allocated to those areas, that it doesn't get stolen or whatever. Who knows? But we can't really look at it. None of us know what's going on. To try and work through hundreds of years of science and understand what we're going to do today is difficult. I think all we can actually try and do is look at what's manifesting and see what's potentially the outcome. So a number of considerations. The virus came up. It was very, very strange. The response to it was very, very strange. The lockdown was very, very strange. All these things are strange. It's natural for somebody to go, there might be something amiss. That's called a hypothesis. That's an idea. Maybe there's something wrong. Okay? That's a hypothesis. The way that you take a hypothesis or an idea into the realm of theory is you look for evidence to support the hypothesis.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't make it a fact, but it certainly brings evidence. And we're kind of rolling in that realm at the moment where as soon as you go, ooh, there's something amiss, they go, you're a conspiracy theorist, and they discount you entirely. And because they go, there's something wrong and nobody's listening, they go, well, we refuse, we're not going there. The fact of the matter is with vaccines, for example, the first vaccines that came out weren't flu vaccines. And they seemed to be very, very effective, causing very, very little damage. But ever since the flu vaccine came out, I think in the 1980s, there have been rumblings of concern. Until now, it hasn't been an issue because you can go, I don't want a vaccine. I don't need a vaccine. I never ever had a flu vaccine in my entire life because there were rumblings and I was uncertain and the flu wasn't such a big deal. Now it's a big question because this is a flu, which finally it's been admitted that it's a flu. Although we knew it was a flu from the beginning, the media was saying you can't compare it to the flu, but it's a flu. So it's a different strain of flu. Now that we're dealing with it as flu, we can look at it objectively. So they got through the whole conspiracy thing there and managed to realize that it actually was a flu. So conspiracy theorists aren't always wrong. But conspiracy theories come up because there's an idea of uncertainty. It's a hypothesis, and then you start looking for evidence. So what's the evidence? We gave benefit of the doubt that something's wrong. I don't want to create a new theory, but there's something that we do need to be cautious about on both sides. The origins of the virus and the strain of the virus is unusual. That's just a fact. It's a new type of flu virus that we've never ever seen before because it affects apparently the RNA. It's much more infectious. It lingers for much longer, and clearly it is causing more damage. Okay, now it's clear. It's causing clear. I just mumble all the way through. Klux Klan. See, it's my white supremacy coming out. Clearly, the numbers are showing much higher numbers. Last year, we looked at the flu with the naked eye, if you get what I'm saying. We just happened to note that there were 11,000 deaths in South Africa, complications of the flu. We looked at it through the naked eye. This year, we're looking at it through a microscope. So clearly, we're going to find more cases potentially than what we found last year. But there's no ways that it's going to be the numbers that it is now compared to last year if it was just the regular flu. It's not just the regular flu. It is more dangerous. So there's, right in the beginning, something's amiss. There's reason for discomfort. Is it man-made? Is it 5G? Blah, all those conspiracy theories, and it just confuses the issue. Simply acknowledge there's something unusual. Then there's lockdowns. Never ever happened before. To something which didn't look like it was going to manifest. Then the lockdown started becoming unreasonable. Never mind unreasonable. Some countries didn't lock down. Their numbers are identical to the countries that did lock down. Their numbers are identical if you look at the comparison to the year before. So Sweden, let's say, had 3,000 deaths last year. Now they got 9,000. South Africa had 11,000 deaths last year. Now we got 33,000. That's exactly 3 times. That's manifest. So it's 3 times more dangerous than the flu. And that number worldwide is accurate. There were 650,000 deaths last year. There's now just under 2 million deaths. Worldwide, it's exactly the same, the comparison, almost no matter what country you look at, except for America, where there's much evidence to suggest that those numbers are inflated, blah, blah, blah. All these facts go, there is something going on, so it's definitely not a hoax. But there might be a con going on here, and we don't know what it is. That's concerning.
Yeah. That's where we are at.
That's where we're at.
That's where we are at.
But it's easy to discount it. Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Bah. All right, so what? Let's just take the vaccine. Maybe it is going to hurt people. All the flu vaccines up until today, flu vaccines, have had negative side effects. Haven't necessarily decreased the numbers of those that have been infected.
Then I want to ask you a question now. If you were to give someone an advice, someone who's worried about what's going on, they are not, again, fully informed as to exactly, there's too much news. And in fact, there has to be... somebody has to make a decision to listen to news a little less than they are listening to. And now somebody's listening to the news, mainstream and all that. All they hear is that corona, and this, people are dying. What advice would you give them regarding their response to this with all the information now that is coming out? I mean, people are being rallied now to join strikes, toys and all that against this. Let's do this. So what advice would you give?
Apiwe, I know so little to give specific advice. What I can offer is this, because we're all experts in this. A human superpower is that we can think. Think for yourself. Don't ignore anything, look at everything. The video comes through and the guy goes, oh, look, they've got a photograph here of a woman and it's the same photograph as the one in England, and everybody just takes it and, look, it's just misrepresentation by the media. Dig deeper, think. Okay, we have a superpower, it's called thought. We're the only animal on the planet that can do what we do because we think. I've seen monkeys climb trees. I've seen dolphins swim in the ocean. I've seen birds fly, and I've seen elephants travel large distance. We can do all of those. I've never seen a monkey surf. I've never seen a dolphin climb a tree. And the only elephant I've ever seen fly is Dumbo. Okay, so we can do all of those, and it's because we can think. We can go in the ocean, on the ocean, with skin, with scuba divers, and choose any animal. I want to highlight your superpower. Choose any animal on the planet. You have to face off to the death. Choose any animal you want. A Maltese poodle. I'm going to give you one condition once you've chosen your animal. Choose any animal.
That I want to fight with.
You have to fight with. But you could choose the animal that you want to fight with. A fly, an ant, any animal.
A sheep.
a sheep. Okay, there's one condition. You both weigh the same. And you've got no weapons.
I'll choose a sheep.
Okay. How are you going to beat a sheep that weighs 95 kilos?
But I don't weigh 95 kilos.
Okay, you weigh 130 kilos. I wanted to be generous. How are you going to defeat even a sheep?
Okay,
unless you've got weapons. The thought allows us to create weapons. And that's how we beat. So we're the most fragile creature on the planet, but our superpower is that we can think. So my advice to people out there is use your superpower. Find one original thought. Get the information, work it out, and make a decision for yourself. But don't ignore the threats, but don't just accept everything as, it is a massive conspiracy. And then we got to try and work it out. But think.
Yeah.
That's all I can offer.
You know what for me, in fact, at the very beginning of it, this is sort of how I wanted to start the conversation. At the very beginning of it all, it highlighted things that I've mentioned in the past, like the fears of going to the shop, the fears of, the supply is running low. This thing has been going on for a year now. And some people haven't really worked and they didn't even get bonuses, some people at their work. Understandably so. So the supply is running low. But there is an idea, again, because of the economic structure of South Africa, there is an idea that there are some people who are having this less traumatic than the others. Who are those? I'll let you.
The ones that are having it less traumatic are the ones that are still able to work, the ones who are still able to get paid. Some of them don't even have to work. They are suffering less. Now, that is not a racial issue. That is apparent everywhere. The ones who are suffering the most are the ones who are losing their businesses, losing their jobs, losing everything, as well as suffering the illnesses that are happening around them. Those are the ones that are suffering the most. The ones who, it's interesting because 80% of the South African population, 80% of the South African population doesn't have a job. They're either children, they're old people, or they're unemployed. Okay, because we only got 20% participation in the marketplace. Those people, I don't know what their greatest sufferings are because they actually got nothing to lose and only something to gain. What you see them doing is they're going, here's an opportunity to ask the government for even more money. And they're doing it. The taxi drivers are saying, we can't drive taxis. You've got to give us 5,000 Rand a month each. Well, who the heck's going to pay for it? Maybe it can be done, but we've got to look through it responsibly. The guys who are suffering the most are the people losing their livelihoods. And they're also suffering the sickness, what's going on around them. They're suffering everything that's happening in the country. There's very, very, very few people who are not impacted by the economic situation. The majority is dying out there, physically, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Do you know that South Africa has officially been declared a poor country now?
Yeah, death is rampant. Death of everything.
Yeah.
The death of everything. Okay.
But with death is the only opportunity for resurrection.
So
somebody said Happy New Year the other day. I could not find it in myself to say Happy New Year. So I'm not going to say Happy New Year to everybody. I'm going to say Happy New Way. And if you can find a way to think, maybe you can determine the new way for yourself. Otherwise, it's going to be imposed upon you. Close away.
Yeah, thank you for listening. This is Apiwe Ngcevu, the other side of the story.
My name is Dean Haystack, and I'm just a guy who gives a damn.